My next guest has millions of followers and is a full-time performing mermaid. She lays out how it can be done and why scuba diving is one of the most crucial foundations in training. She talks about safety, comparing scuba to freediving, which one's better for mermaiding. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And of course, at the end of the video, I'll give you my hot take on that. Haley Mermaid. Haley, thanks for coming on.
Of course, thank you for having me. I'm super excited.
This is a scuba diving podcast, but you know that we do mermaids here.
Yes.
First of all, you're a certified diver, right?
Yes.
Fairly comfortable diver.
Yes.
How would you describe the correlation, or is there much of a correlation between mermaiding and scuba diving?
Yes.
There is?
Yes.
Okay, so these things aren't just we happen to be around the water.
No, I'm freedive certified and scuba certified. And I've found as a mermaid that a lot of things from scuba helped me a lot in making this a career. One of the first things in scuba is you need to be comfortable under the water. If you're not comfortable, don't do this. You need to stay calm and remember all your emergency training. With mermaiding, that's like the biggest thing is you need to stay calm underwater and remember what to do in the event of an emergency. So it's like the basics of scuba. It's already ingrained in you from all that scuba training. A basic foundation to build upon for mermaiding.
Okay, so it does help.
Yes, and the buoyancy. The buoyancy for scuba, I know weighting. Like I know how to properly weight myself. I know how to balance out the weight of the tail with the balance of the weights. And I know how to control, like with my lungs, I know how to like balance out lungs and weights and tail and all that stuff, but I learned it by learning buoyancy from scuba diving. And so you already have that foundation when you go into putting on a tail. It's kind of similar to putting a tank on your back as far as buoyancy and weighting yourself.
So you think it would be beneficial to go ahead and get scuba certified, get a little comfort there, to then go in, if you can, do that first if possible?
Yes, because then you're comfortable under the water with a mask and with a buddy and with legs before you add more dangerous elements like taking your mask off, flooding your sinuses, adding your legs tied together. You need a nice...
You said tied together. That sounds pretty scary.
It sounds scary. I like to come at it like very, I don't want to say like harshly, because you have to be upfront about the dangers because people don't realize the dangers.
I keep hearing that a lot. That seems to be the thing that every professional mermaid that I've spoke with has said. People underestimate the risks.
Yes. It looks pretty because I've spent 15 years doing it. It doesn't look pretty because it's easy.
I couldn't do it.
You need a good, strong foundation of swimming and being comfortable underwater. Diving is very beneficial as a foundation to build upon to become a mermaid.
Now, what about freediving? How does mermaiding compare to freediving?
When people describe mermaiding, they use the term freediving a lot with mermaiding.
Well, let's stop you right there. I can tell right now by your face, that irritates you a little bit.
No.
No? A little bit?
Just...
Because I've seen it irritate
I
other
don't
people.
think people appreciate how much scuba has helped me in mermaiding.
I got you.
I appreciate both, and I love both, and I freedive more. But I do think that scuba is a stronger foundation to start with than just starting out with freediving. Maybe that's a better way to say it.
Okay, all right. Not a bad thing if they start out with freediving. Still better than nothing.
Of course.
Okay.
But I would say scuba is a stronger foundation than just, oh, I'm an okay swimmer and I want to be a mermaid, so I'm just going to go straight into a freediving class.
And you said it's because the added variables of the buoyancy control with the gear and the weight and the breathing and all
and
that.
The comfort.
So what's the biggest difference between mermaiding and freediving?
They're completely different sports, but they are very similar. Freediving is more like a competition to see who can go the deepest on a single breath or who can go the longest on a single breath. Like an Olympic like. Mermaiding is more about being graceful and pretty underwater. It's not about distance or depth. It's about beauty.
So it's a performance.
It's a performance. It is. It's kind of like if you took a sport and a performance like on a theater and you like meshed them together, kind of like synchronized swimming. But again, that is competitive. Mermaiding isn't really supposed to be like a competition with other mermaids. It's supposed to be like a way to inspire and bring magic to people and entertain. And it's a platform that a lot of people use because when you go to a library and you read a story to kids, I mean, they're in the back picking their nose. They don't care. But when you go to a library and you sit here in a tale and you read to kids, you have their attention. Absolute attention. And it's very hard to get it and keep a kid's attention. So if you can convey an important message to a child like water safety or ocean conservation, then this is a good way to do it.
How did you, like, you're very famous. That's why I'm very honored to have you here.
Thank you.
Where did it all start?
When I was about 11, got my first monofin. My mom bought it for me because I was a very strong swimmer. I have been obsessed with mermaids literally my whole life. And my mom and grandma are both seamstresses. They make custom like window treatments, like curtains and stuff, which you don't have any curtains, and I pointed at curtains anyway.
Yeah, that's real.
So I would go through their scrap fabric and I would sew mermaid tails. I would go to my grandparents' pool and I would swim in them. I just kept practicing until I was better at my dolphin kick, and then I upgraded to a more professional tail. My aunt, who works in elementary school, got me my first paid gig.
Okay, so right up to until that, you're just doing it for fun.
Absolutely.
And your first paid gig was at what age?
17. I have a picture. I was dressed like Ariel for a school event. I met Ariel when I was 2 at Disneyland, and that is my very first memory ever, is meeting her in the tail. It all goes back to Ariel, always does. I grew up doing theater. Being like a character for kids, it wasn't anything new to me. And to be able to do it in a tail and like get money for that, like I was like, I can do this for money? I discovered that professional mermaiding was a thing. I got into the mermaid community. I found a company in Charlotte that did mermaid birthday parties, and they hired me, and I drove 2 hours each way for each party just so that I could work as a mermaid.
Now, is this, like, can you actually make money doing this? Like, is it
So-
kind of like support the hobby, or is there like a legit, like...
It takes time.
But it can be done.
It can be done.
Okay.
Right now, mermaiding is my main source of income.
So that's your primary income?
It is my primary income. It is through several streams. My own business, Haley Mermaid LLC. So I do mermaid birthday parties and events. I do mermaid lessons. I teach tail safety. I make tails and tops. And all of that is combined into my business.
Then you're making that stuff?
Yes, by
All right.
hand.
So can you buy something like this on your website?
Oh, absolutely. So this is a full silicone, individually scaled tail, meaning I hand sculpted 100 original scales out of clay. I made molds, and I pull them. I pour them in medical grade skin safe silicone. I pull them, I trim them. 956 scales put on one at a time are on this tail.
Okay, how long did that take?
It took 24 hours for the scaling. That was broken up into months of work.
Okay, so
but
24
hours total of just gluing the scales and pinning them in place.
My back gets sore just thinking about that.
It's got a blended waist, so in underwater pictures and on video you can't tell where the tail stops, but it actually does have a waist here. I mean, the kids love it, and it's travel sized.
And you said there's a monofin inside this thing.
Yes, in order to safely swim in a mermaid tail, you need a safe and properly made monofin. So with a silicone tail, that monofin is going to be permanently built in, and then there's going to be a drainage system, so there are drain holes hidden in the bottom of the tail so that the water can drain out. And it has to be your exact size, and it has to be skin safe silicones. The industry standard is called dragon skin silicone, which I love because I keep lizards, so it's very fitting.
Yeah.
You can sanitize it with scuba sanitizer. I use slosh. You can dry it out. I use a floor fan. I just shove it in the body hole, turn on the fan all the way up. Air comes out the drain holes on the other end, dries it all out.
This is quite a contraption. Oh, I gotta ask, how much do these things cost?
So an individually scaled tail starts around $3,000. With the upgrades like the blended waist and the dorsal fin on the back, this one, when it was new and in perfect condition, would probably be around $4,500.
Ooh, mama.
But
So
this tail is 8 years old. My personal preference is a smaller travel-friendly tail, especially because when I'm doing mermaid performances, I'm usually in like a small area like a tank or a lagoon. So you need to be able to cut those corners. The preference of mermaids in the community is a really big flipper. Like we're talking like 40 inches across big is like that's what people want.
For the visual, because it just screams mermaid tail.
I do have other options that are bigger. Just my personal preference. I think that this looks just as realistic and it's a lot easier on me.
All right, so you got your paid gig at 17, and you started driving 2 hours for gigs, and it just snowballed, and you were able to open your store. Like, I made a little money, I got this. I made a little money, I got that.
Yes.
And you just sort of...
It took a lot of time.
How long?
I got hired by the company when I was 18, and I got my job at the Pirates Table in Myrtle Beach when I was 22. So between that time, I was in college, and while I was in college, earning my degree in theater with a minor in biology, I was working on my company the entire time I was in college. I was taking classes about, like managing businesses and portfolios and professionalism, and everywhere I would find something that might help me with a mermaid business, I would take it.
And everyone else was going and getting hungover and playing video games.
I took pre-law so that I could write contracts for my company.
So hold on, you took pre-law so you could write your own contracts, some business classes so you understood the business side, theater because this is performance, and you minored in biology so you understood the underwater world.
Yes. On paper it says I have a degree in theater, but I built my own mermaid degree.
5 hours. Nicely done. Good for you. And while you were doing all of this,
yes,
building out a business.
I was working almost full-time in a restaurant to earn enough money to put into my business for tails.
You work in a restaurant and doing the mermaid thing and going to college full-time?
Yes. And it literally almost killed me.
Okay, so you're going to college, you're doing all this, you're getting big. When do you feel like, okay, it's big time now?
I never expected it to make me like actual money. I thought I was going to be working seasonally at this restaurant as a mermaid performer, living out my dream, and I thought as long as I can pay my bills as a mermaid and then maybe wait tables in the winter, as long as my bills are covered, I'm good. I've made it as a mermaid. And then I had Instagram to connect to the mermaid community and to advertise for my art, my tails, and my tops that I make. And I started TikTok. I thought, hey, everyone's starting TikTok. It's very popular now.
And what year was this?
2019, 2020.
2019. So then you created a TikTok account. And last I checked a few minutes ago, it's 2.7 million followers.
Yes.
What was the big one that took off?
Talking about... It was just answering, like, it was that sound that was popular a little while ago, that, yep, nope. And then you just answer the little questions.
Yeah.
And I answered questions about being a mermaid. And it just took off. People were interested in my life as a professional mermaid. And I just watched it. I just watched the numbers go up and up and up. And I was just, like, in shock. I was like, people actually are interested in mermaids. Like, the thing I was made fun of growing up for, like, people like now.
Millions and millions of views.
It's insane.
Now, did that change how you were going to move forward with
Oh,
this?
absolutely.
How?
TikTok boosted my business so that it was actually a source of income. Right now, I have I have about 7 tail orders right now that I'm working on finishing for clients. I actually created a budget-friendly option for skin-safe silicone tails. Nobody else does that. So typically, your average silicone tail in the market, the cheapest one you can get is around $1,500. I make them for $5 because I did it a different way. It's an option for people that are looking for a more realistic tail on a budget. I texture it by hand, texture the scales and the flipper. I sew it with an industrial walking foot sewing machine. And that thing is a beast. It'll sew right through your hand, bone and all.
Okay, so I want to go back to the TikTok thing. It blew up. How did you feel? Like, do you behave differently? Did you change your posts? Did it change your behavior when you went viral?
Yes. I realized if I have such a big audience, I need to be pushing something more. Most professional MERs focus on ocean conservation. I realize my audience is mostly children, and a lot of them see my videos and want to be mermaids. So I switched my focus to pushing tail safety, which is something I didn't see hardly anyone else do. It was a market that desperately needed attention because people will just say, oh, my daughter likes mermaids, and they'll go on Amazon and they'll buy a tail that is made out of illegal stolen art, and it doesn't have a proper monofin. It's basically a rainbow death trap. And then they put their kid that doesn't even know how to swim in it and toss them in. And now I see people online commenting on bad tail videos saying, hey, go watch Haley Mermaid's videos because this isn't safe. I literally feel like I'm saving children from drowning.
Hey, go watch Haley Mermaid's video. This isn't safe. Boom. That is your...
I found my hill to die on.
You got that flag planted up there. I've been going to the springs here in Florida for, well, really my whole life, but commercially about 15 years. And only in the last 2 or 3 years, I'll see more mermaids than I will scuba divers and some. And before it was like a rare thing.
And now the mermaid community is thousands of people.
So the community's Facebook, your reach is TikTok. What is Instagram?
It's kind of like an in-between. I like using Instagram to connect with other mer people and my customers. Customers.
Well, I did not expect a dad joke from you.
We love puns.
I noticed that. I noticed that. One thing, if you could leave everybody that does want to try and get an audience out there, what's the one trick? I know there's a lot, but you can only give them one.
My trick that I have found works the absolute best is your background.
That's what I've been talking about since you told me.
Your background.
Yeah.
Because when you're scrolling, you have like a split second to decide whether you're watching that video or not. And what's going to catch your attention, you know, like something weird, like, whoa, what was that? So when I am at work, I will prop myself up on the back wall of the area where you get into the tank, and it looks like this nasty, gnarly bathtub with all these sketchy pipes going in it. I'll prop myself up right next to those pipes because I know people are going to have something to say. Oh, you need to scrub that tub. Why are you in a big, nasty bathtub wearing a mermaid tail? What is this crazy lady doing in this weird, nasty bathtub? And that's why they watch that video. And that's why it goes viral, because it caught their attention in that first split second with the background. Put something weird in your background.
It needs to be weird.
So you catch their attention, and then they stay because they like what you have to say.
Brilliant. There it is. From 2.7 million followers. What's one thing that they should either start doing right now that they're usually not doing, or stop doing that most people are doing?
So most people, if you want to be a mermaid, you buy a tail, you put it on, you jump in the water. Don't do that, please.
Why not?
Please. You need a foundation. You need to be a very strong swimmer. You need to be comfortable underwater. You need to be able to do tail safety research, which I have done for you, by the way. All the tail safety research is done, and it's on my website. Just press the button that says tail safety. I made infographics. I made a list of safe monofins. It's all done. You just got to click it. But yeah,
that's a strong pitch.
You have to have a basic foundation before you just put a tail on and jump in.
And you said scuba diving is a great way to start.
It is a wonderful part of your foundation. You be a strong swimmer, you be a good scuba dive certified, free dive certified, synchronized swimming. I mean, all these things can help build a very strong foundation that then you can add a tail to. You never ever want to start by just putting on a tail and jumping in the water.
When you're not mermaiding. When you're not doing any of this stuff, when you're not making tails, you're not out, nothing to do with mermaiding, what's the one thing you do for fun?
I keep reptiles.
I don't know, I feel like this is almost still related.
When I am a human and I am not working on mermaid stuff or answering mermaid emails or making mermaid tails, I make little tiny food jewelry.
Can we find this food jewelry anywhere?
Yes, on my website.
It's also on your website?
Yes, it's the only non-mermaid thing that I do is I keep reptiles and I watch horror movies and I make mini food jewelry.
Okay, the horror movies threw me. I didn't see that.
I am a huge horror fan.
Scariest movie?
Favorite scary movie is The Descent.
That still bothers me. I saw it years ago. I still think about how eerie that was. Okay, well, Haley, thanks for coming on.
Of course, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for making the trip. Thanks for watching. It was awesome having Haley here in the studio. There's probably going to be a lot of different opinions on if free diving or scuba diving is better for training to be a mermaid. A lot of people don't realize how dangerous mermaiding can be. Just Google that. Here's the thing. I agree that scuba diving is a lot better. Now, just going and getting certified is probably not enough. You need to go out there and get a few dives and, like she said, understand that buoyancy. It's not just you. It's buoyancy in your gear, your fins, your tank. All those different things are all fighting and working with or against you. It's you going down and managing all those different things and increasing your awareness versus if you scuba dive a lot, that's going to come more naturally to you. Don't get me wrong. Just like she said, free diving is excellent. If you can only free dive, free dive. Free diving is definitely going to prepare you a lot more than doing nothing. And of course, anything you can do to get in the water, even if it's just swimming, all those things will build your confidence, will build your comfort, and make things all easier. So do whatever you can do. At the end of the day, if you're getting in the water, you're getting comfortable, you're going to get better, and life's going to get better. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next episode.